I've got a theory.
A game theory.
A game theory. And lawsuit.
All right. Well,
So, why are we here today?
we're catching up.
Catching up? Yeah, catching up.
Yeah, we're just
Would you be
I
upset?
love sitting around the microphone and just catching up.
catching up.
Would you be upset if I revealed at this point that I never actually finished Signalis? Like I still haven't.
Wait, are you lying?
I
Or
don't
are
know
you
what to
telling
do
the
with that,
truth?
to be honest.
No, I finished it.
Okay.
I just wanted to.
Well, would you be upset if I said that I never actually finished it?
I would be shocked, but not upset. Maybe disappointed.
I haven't.
Well, you
checked,
see what had happened was
I haven't checked your progress on Steam.
Yeah.
Recently, but I don't know. Yeah, I've just been on the Helldivers, so I haven't seen whether you got more achievements for it or not. Wait, I was
hey,
doing
welcome back to
Hold on.
Rogue's Nerdery.
Yeah, I was doing this as a bit. Did you actually not finish? It's okay.
Welcome
It's
back to
okay.
Rogue's Nerdery. We're watching the next Constantine movie, the Constantine movie live.
Pivot.
Pivot!
Alright, so I didn't finish, but
Really?
I think I got the gist of the game, you know?
But the ending's so important.
I watched 1,000 videos about the ending. Which...
You have to feel it, though.
Jack, I'm really proud of you because this is like Noah shit right here. This is
Well,
this is prime.
I'm so mad, actually.
I went to finish it last night, but then my freaking Steam Deck was dead because the cat unplugged it.
I
So...
had the same problem with my iPad the other day.
And everything just sucks lately, but... You're playing Dragon Dogma too.
Nice. Oh yeah.
That's giving me joy. Yeah. So
Do you want...
Dragma Dogma.
Dragma Dogma.
Jack finished it in spirit.
Yeah.
I did. And even though I didn't finish it myself,
Which
understand
ending did you watch?
all of them.
Interesting.
Well, what do we want to talk about first, or
I want to
what
say
do we want to say about Signalis?
I struggled to enjoy playing Signalis.
Oh
Really?
God! Hold on. Let's
Really?
talk about what is Signalis.
Okay.
It came out 2022, right?
I have the
I
Steam
think
app.
it was
I can look this
December
up.
2022, yeah.
Because it feels like it's so much
Late
older. I feel like
22.
I've heard about this game for a long time.
I think I only heard about it first from June. And then post that, saw every now and again, like whether it be like on websites, just like social media, or on Steam itself, I would see it pop up. But I did immediately put it on my wish list.
I just feel like
I obsessed over this game for about a month a year ago and told everybody I knew about it.
Yeah, it just feels like something I wanted to play for a long time, but I haven't. Even though it didn't come out that long ago.
It did. It came out actually October 27th, 2022.
And it is
I've seen gifs of
a
Elsa breakdancing.
survival horror game.
It is very much a survival horror game. The crux of the game is built around you've got very limited resources on your run, and you have to spend them accordingly. Almost every enemy can be avoided, but you're usually going to take damage from that. Terrifying.
It is pretty terrifying. Like, I'm just sitting there holding my Steam Deck, and then, like, a freaking thing pops up, and it's like...
I would be
Oh
fine
my
with it. I was so ready to encounter, like, enemies, but... And we should probably talk about sound design later, because I think music and just, like, sound design-wise, it is, like, really good. But a certain track would start playing when an enemy pops up, and that throws me off
It's really industrial.
Every time. Other than that, I think I could take on an enemy and be like, I'm calm and cool about this. But
I think
Well, that's I mean that's kind of the point of it, I guess.
Yeah.
the game is very Resident Evil core. You can like combine healing items together to get a specific healing item. You've got like your pistol that's your like main workhorse, and when you like shoot someone up enough, they usually fall to the ground, at which point you can run over and just like kick them while they're down, which is really brutal from Elster because, like, as Noah might have already mentioned, I don't know at this point, Elster doesn't have feet. That's just a spike.
Yo.
Uh,
It's kind of like it. I don't know.
It's just stomping like a hoof through somebody.
Yeah, I would say more hoof-like than spike. Although spike would be cool. I feel like it'd be hard to balance.
I actually wasn't expecting this game to be survival horror. I didn't
Really?
know that much about it going in.
I thought it would be a little bit more
I
sci-fi.
thought it was just
than
more like a
survival.
puzzle game, like one shot. And then I was
Oh.
surprised when I accidentally loaded that wrong save and started fighting the last boss without knowing it.
Yeah, I kind of left my save on Jack's Steam Deck, and he ended up getting a little bit of a spoiler there, but it's fine.
Yeah, I made it mostly through that fight. It didn't really spoil the game for me, though. And it did make me realize, like, oh, this game
Falk,
has weapons.
For the moment you see Falk, you know you're going to have to fight her eventually.
I did not.
I
Really?
was like, oh,
But-
Falk.
It was a really big epiphany when I met Falk. Met? I guess in quotations there, Falk a second time.
Alright, game
Survival.
is, like I was saying, very Resident Evil core.
Resident Evil.
It
People
is...
say it reminds them of Silent Hill a lot.
Yeah? I never played Silent Hill, so I can't
Just
really
because
speak
the
to that one.
story, I think it's just the story and how it's kind of like weird and confusing, like Silent Hill, but it's really more like Resident Evil.
I mean, I think Silent Hill also has large... I haven't played it, or any of them, but from what I understand, it has, like, large underlying, like, narratives or allusions to, like, traumatic pasts or, like, haunting
Yeah.
events. And I can absolutely see how people would draw connections between that sort of style of game and Signalis.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
But as far as gameplay, it's definitely just like the combining items together and stuff, and then how you have to examine certain items and like look inside them because there might be like something inside of like a vase or something like in Resident Evil. I
Or you
liked that a lot.
take an item and rotate it.
Yeah.
On gameplay, how did we feel about the actual gameplay aspect of it? Because Noah made it sound like a chore a second ago.
I had to force myself to play this game.
I liked it.
I enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd liked playing it.
I really like some of the game design choices. I really like how the like damage you do to somebody and the chance of actually hitting them is based on how long you spend like aiming your gun at them before shooting. Because every time that you fight an enemy, it's like this moment of they're getting closer and closer, and you have to wait until the absolute last second to be able to maximize the value of your ammo.
No.
Yes.
I
No, you're gonna run out of ammo like that.
As a Resident Evil player, I just ran around a lot of them because that's what you do in Resident Evil. Unless it's like a spot where they keep coming back, 'cause then you could like kill them and put the flare and burn their body or whatever, and they won't respawn. That's just for the high traffic areas, I guess.
Which only does one. I tried to. I would try and kill them in piles and put a flare down. It would only burn up one of those piles. And that was a little frustrating to learn.
Well, it's
later.
not catching them on fire, it's burning through the metal frame.
I was hoping I could just like,
Come on. I should have saw that one coming. But
to be perfectly fair, though, usually if you like... so one of the mechanics of the game is that you've got thermite flares that like can burn bodies, which is important because every body has like a chance to stand back up whenever you enter the room. Or not even when you enter the room, when you walk close to them. So if you like kill them far away from where you're going to be walking, usually they're not going to be a problem.
I was reading, surprisingly enough, a thread on Reddit that was like trying to... It was mostly about how to like get different endings, and like people were like delving into the code to see like what added to what. There's 3. I'm sure we'll get to those later, but
More than 3.
Oh, Well, we'll get to that later. But apparently it's also every time that you do run over or past, that chance increases.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
So if you
That
keep
makes a lot
running
of
through the
sense.
same area and past the same body, it's only more and more of a chance that that's going to get back up.
Interesting.
Now, in my
I know
experience...
that affects the ending, too.
Yeah?
It's like the enemies that you just run past and how long you spend in the game, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it affects the ending.
Once I got to there's an area, well, there might be a few, but the first area that has like several different floors to it, I started to impose the run
Yeah.
past them strategy.
They give you so little ammo after they push you out of the mine shaft. They specifically start you off with low ammo in that area. I think that's an intentional choice, and I hate it.
Out of the mine? No, this was before I got to the mine shaft.
No, not the mine shaft. When you get pushed through the elevator, and you end up in like the second half of the first chapter.
Yep.
It's this like big area where like it's the first time where you end up with like 3 enemy groups in rooms, and you've got so little ammo to handle it until you get the revolver.
Revolver? Best weapon. I know.
I love the revolver. The revolver, honestly, like, I stopped even carrying around the little stun sticks. I was just running around with revolver and flare gun for, like...
I would do stun sticks specifically if I had a problem target. In moving through places, if there was one thing that was, like, really pissing me off, or an area that, like, I would have to travel frequently, that's what I would do. I would take flares and stun sticks. I would do... Most of my gameplay was little missions.
Mm-hmm.
Where I, like, there'd be, like, one item that I couldn't pick up.
Yeah.
And so specifically, there's a facility with, like, 4 floors. I would be in the safe room. I would, like, save, like, twice because I'm paranoid. And then I'd go, all right, what do I need for this mission? Right? And I'd kit
got
my
one guy I want to
inventory out.
burn. I've got, like, one big guy in the way, so I'm going to take, like,
I have to take this much inventory space.
Exactly.
That's something people didn't like is that
I really
you only
liked
get
it.
the 6 spots to hold us things, but I think it makes
used
sense.
to be less.
Really?
It's not that it used to be less. It's that it used to be you had to carry around the little eye and you had to carry around your flashlight.
Oh.
Mhm.
Well, I usually
you
carried
need
around a
space for that.
flashlight anyways. The eye I didn't. I assumed that was for, like, puzzles where you need to...
Well, they don't take up inventory space now.
The flashlight absolutely does.
No, it doesn't.
Because you gotta put it in your inventory and then also equip it. It's like holding a gun.
Well,
Or-
yeah, it's taking up the equipment space, but it's not taking up one of your 6 slots. No, it's not.
It does. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, you might have been playing on the classic setting. My first playthrough was
God
on
damn
the
it.
old setting, and my second playthrough was normal.
I didn't know there was
Usually,
different settings.
yeah, because people complain about the 6 slots. They're like, okay, we're not going to budge on the 6 slots, but we'll let you not have to carry your flashlight in one of them.
Ah,
I
And
must have been
because
playing
instead of using the eye, people would just screenshot puzzles anyways.
oh, is that what that's for?
I figure.
Honestly, I love the eye. I was one of those people that was like, I don't know, spending his inventory slot and just screenshot whenever it gave me like a number or something.
I would
But
draw
switching over to
stuff
the
out.
eye,
I would just draw it out in the notepad.
yeah.
Yeah, I just took a picture of it.
I did like Myst style, like 90s computer puzzle game. I have a notebook for my game.
Oh, I love that.
I have the notes for it. Oh, look. See? Keycard.
There's
And
the key. You got it.
I drew it both
got
ways
it.
just in case.
It's got the little cutout so you know which way.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Mhm.
It wasn't... I hadn't encountered where it showed me what to do with it. I had only encountered the x-ray machine. And I was like, this looks like an item that I'll need in the future. So I just drew it out, and I drew it both ways in case I needed it to be the other way.
So the 6-item slot choice was very intentional. And it causes what Noah was just describing, which is because you can only pick up additional things to like bring back to your box when you've got inventory space, and items are very limited in the game. You usually want to run around with like 3 items in your inventory, maybe like a healing item, a gun, and maybe like a secondary gun, or a healing item, a gun, and your like stun rod or something to melee. And
Oh, go ahead.
or at least that was my approach, because every item that you see and you don't get the opportunity to pick up is just resources you won't have later. And a lot of times puzzle items take up slots and stuff. But there are brief moments in the game where it's hard enough that you can just fill your inventory up with like 5 items or maybe even 6 items and just go ham and tear through whatever enemies are there. That's how I took care of most of the dark rooms.
I was okay with leaving a lot of stuff behind because I had to go back and forth a lot. Yeah. So it's like, it's fine if I don't pick this up because I can just grab it later.
It depends on the area, I think, because there was one facility in particular that my sister said she did a lot of like backtracking and like going back and forth between.
Just burn everybody there.
And I had the experience of like, I would find something and then wander into the room where I needed it like a minute later. Oh. And she had that in actually the Nowhere facility where I was going back and forth fucking constantly. So I think I don't know.
It just depends on if you're lucky enough to just happen to go into the right room.
Yeah.
That's my fuse puzzle.
Oh, that makes sense. The fuse puzzle becomes so easy once, like, my brain just realized, I just need to get 800 on the top one, and the bottom one will figure itself out.
Yep. Well, I did the opposite. I was like, I need to get 110 on the bottom.
Yeah. But...
Oh my god.
I love the inventory.
Puzzle.
The water puzzle. It tells you how to do it.
Yeah, but I didn't see that book at first.
What?
So I went and I tried it for so long, and then I finally gave up and I looked it up online. And then as I was about to leave, I see the other book that tells you what to do. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Oh my god. But yeah, like by having those 6 inventory slots, you have to always choose between like being able to do more on your little trips outside of like your inventory area, or being stronger on your trips. And I love that.
My strategy was sort of like leave everything kind of empty and just do like a run for your life kind of exploration.
Resident Evil player.
And then pick up as much stuff as you can and then go back to the chest and reevaluate.
Little missions. I would venture away from my safe room about 10 feet, find too much stuff, take it back, prepare to go get the stuff that I left, and then just keep slowly exploring that way.
I always play by just, like, tearing through every enemy I see, going out of my way to shoot every single one, and then running out of ammo, and then having to run past a couple, but always coming back later to gun them down. Sometimes.
But they'll never always be down. As soon as they start getting back up...
They come back up with less health. That's why you carry the pistol around.
Oh, really?
I did not know that. I went to... There's a room where it's, like, really, really dark, and you have to kill, like, 9 or 10 enemies.
Oh,
right?
There is a dark room that I ran through, and it ended up being, like, the only time that I left an item that I needed. So when I came back, I made sure to kill everything there out of spite.
Well, that one, I was like, that's it. I have, like, 20-some shots with my pistol. I'm going to use this pistol. I ran to that room. I emptied half of it on one enemy and went, this sucks.
Yeah, because you're using it wrong. You have to wait between every shot, make everyone count, be decisive with your ammunition.
I gotta be honest, I didn't learn that until slightly before Nowhere.
You didn't see the little square?
I did.
But they do tell you about it.
What?
Like, tutorial-wise.
Did I not have a tutorial?
There's like a button that tells you how to play the game.
I think it just tells you. I don't know, maybe it didn't. But I just
also...
kind of saw... The square starts off big and gets smaller.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't realize it until after I had the shotgun, for sure.
You notice that sometimes enemies die in one shot and sometimes they die in like 5?
No, because I would, as soon as the reticle was on them, I'd shoot.
No one just shooting while the reticle's got the big X through it, just...
Also, after I learned that, I could not help but panic shoot in this game. Something about this game...
Yes, it's so good at that, especially since you've got like the push away and then shoot.
Yeah.
And then you see your shot go wide. I did that once with a grenade, and it was so funny seeing the grenade just like fire wide.
There are also times where like an enemy wouldn't notice me, and I would be on it, and it would grow small, and I'd wait, and like right before I'd go to shoot...
It would notice you.
It wouldn't notice me, it wouldn't be on the target anymore, or it'd have to start over.
It's retargeting someone else. You gotta hover it over the enemy you want to shoot.
Yeah, maybe I just drifted. I don't know. But I found that a little... I figured it was trying to instill fear in me. and that the game was just subtly messing with me.
Taking away your square.
Yeah. Or I
can-
waited too long and now my arm's fatigued or something. I was like, shit.
You can do so much with it to just, like, be more efficient with your ammo. Of course, there's, like, stomping on enemies while they're on the ground, because once they're down to, like, almost no health, they fall over. You can save yourself a shot that way. But weapons like the shotgun, obviously, will do more damage if they're closer, and also do more damage when the reticle grows smaller. But if, for any reason, they're just slightly out of range, or it did not get to its, like, absolute small size, they'll still be alive on, like, 1 health. And then you can switch to your pistol to knock them over and then run over and stomp them. Stuff like that. It's such a well-designed game.
So yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's well designed. Most aspects of this game you can tell, like, somebody really, like, was passionate about it and put a lot of care into so many of the details.
I think that for a survival horror game, it's not too difficult, like a lot of them. So a lot of them is like you try to get into it, but it's too hard. This one isn't too hard. It's like just the right amount of difficulty. If you know what I mean. I don't know.
I think the game has a little bit of a safety net. And that is that it gives you a shit ton of healing items to the point where you're, like, never going to run out. And it makes it so that enemies have a hard time hitting you when you're running. So if you ever did run fully out of ammunition, like, none of the objectives are in a room with an enemy. And the only things that are, like, important in rooms with enemies are items which you can run and grab. So if you did absolutely run out of ammo from, like, wasting and stuff, you can just run through the whole game and just, like, not have to engage with the enemies. The exceptions being boss fights that, like, have ammo given to you beforehand.
I guess how you can equip healing items or certain healing items to, like, the quick slot, maybe, yeah. But, God, that makes it much scarier and more intense.
Yeah. So I feel like the game only feels really, really difficult if you are ignoring the fact that you've got a safety net. If you're scared of running out of ammo, the game's really scary. If you realize, well, if I run out of ammo, it's not too big of a deal because I can switch over to just, like, running past enemies mode, the game gets, like, a little bit less stressful, in my opinion.
They do give you a lot of ammo during boss fights, too, which is nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
And we didn't say that it is like a, what is it called, isometric view or top-down view?
Top-down? I don't know if it's isometric.
Yeah, I don't think it's isometric.
Whatever it's called.
It's top-down.
Well, yeah,
I
guess
did
it
notice,
just depends.
I did notice there's tank controls, and I got really tempted. That you could turn on.
What controls?
Tank controls that you could turn on so that, like, holding W moves you forward and then the other keys turn you. I was like, oh, that's so tempting.
Oh.
I'm going to have to do a run-through like that someday.
Resident Evil style. Old school Resident Evil, I should say.
Is that what old Resident Evil's like?
Yeah, 1 and 2 and 3 and Code Veronica. Everything up to like 5 or 4, I should say.
I should probably mention the game.
It's like basically like left and right turn you, and then you hold forward to like run that direction.
Part of how the game
You get
keeps
those
itself
weird
hectic
angles with the camera.
Yeah.
is the fact that your character's kind of clumsy. You do not turn around instantly. You do not start running instantly. You kind of like you bumble around a little bit, and that's how enemies get you. They get on top of you while you're like trying to maneuver and failing.
You can
and running into
absolutely
terrain.
be stealthy. If you're like going slow.
Yeah, I did actually. I like that a lot. You could like hide behind a corner,
And enemies won't actually
and the
see
enemy,
you.
will like walk by and not see you. I thought that was pretty nice.
A lot of other games mess that one up.
Yeah.
This one's actually really consistent about if you are not running, you're keeping your flashlight off, and you're like sneaking around the like geometry of a room.
Yeah, I thought I found a paper or something that said like, "Don't run through the hallways" or something.
There is one. It's really early on.
Yeah,
I remember that. They
I wasn't
definitely
sure.
can hear you running. It like instantly aggroes everything in the room if you run.
Yeah, I didn't know if they
Same
could
with the
hear
light.
you like from other rooms while you're running or something like that. So
Oh,
I was careful to like try not to run too much unless I had to.
I couldn't figure out what causes enemies to, like, reset their position in their room. If it's by moving between 2 rooms or what, or just waiting long enough.
I didn't.
That part seems kind of inconsistent.
It seemed random, in a way.
Because sometimes they go back into a room and they're, like, still at the door.
I just figured I wouldn't be able to guarantee it. So I hedged my bets.
Yeah, that's probably the more enjoyable way to be playing it.
Yeah, if I knew, because like if an enemy's chasing you, you go through the door, and then you go do something when you have to go back, you don't know if they're going to be there. So
realizing
I'm always
you have
ready
to
to
back,
run.
It's just sighing and getting your stun prod out.
Yeah. Just ready to run around them.
I tried to save all my stun prods because I remembered that maze where you have to go through the barbed wire. And I was like, I need to like walk into this with 4 of these guys.
I didn't get that far.
There is one,
really?
I think, in Nowhere that I just ended up tanking a bunch of enemies.
Hey Jack, how far did you get?
I got to the area where you needed to find the flashlight.
I don't think Jack beat the second boss.
I did not.
Wait, which one's the second boss? The
The
first one's Mina.
Yep. The second one is the Chimera.
Oh, I forgot that was a boss. Huh. How much do you know about what happens in Nowhere?
In Nowhere?
The meat place.
You see
Not much. I know there's something about meat. And
what I think's really interesting about that place too is it's the only area on the map that doesn't really follow, or in the game that doesn't really follow. Like if you go out a door to your right, you like enter the next room from below, or like vice versa.
Weird.
Like it really mixes that up
Yeah.
and really confuses you while you're in that area. You also don't get a map.
Yes.
oh,
So, a couple areas in the game are designed around you have to find 6 items and bring them to a location to unlock a door. Nowhere is you're finding these, like, meat artifact rock things that each have, like, a puzzle associated with them. And for some reason, I think it's 2 of them, they, like, double dipped on the barbed wire maze part. And one of them is, like, normal, and you can just walk through it. And the second one is spawns, like, a bunch of those enemies that crawl up from underground on you while you're going through it. And the idea is it's supposed to, like, force you to panic and walk into the barbed wire that then does a shit ton of damage.
You can get through reasonably. If you have a reasonable amount of health, you can get through one full barbed wire, I think. You can just walk
What the fuck?
Yeah. What?
Wait, Noah, why would you know that?
Because I've done it.
Oh my god.
What?
Just why would you do that? It was hurting you.
Huh?
It was hurting you.
Yeah. I always had one of those full health stims on me.
The auto injectors?
And probably like 3 in like the case back at my hideout. So I saw 7 enemies.
You were just walking through going, ow, 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 ow.
Well, I went like, it'd be a lot easier if I could be past just this one barbed wire right now.
Oh my God.
And everything else is running at me, and so I just went, and walked through it. It nearly killed me.
Well, I have a neat little piece of data mined information.
What's that?
People found there's a scene that was never used in the game that was one of those barbed wire mazes where Adler was supposed to spawn as a boss fight.
Oh, interesting.
And so the theory
That would be
goes
awful.
that the really annoying chunk of the game where enemies are spawning on you and trying to make you panic and move into the barbed wire was originally a plan for Adler to try and like make you panic and move into the barbed wire or something.
Adler? Not a big fan.
Not a big fan of the Adler.
Mm-mm.
I don't like
30 on
being
30.
pushed down elevator shafts.
I like Adler, actually. I think he makes a lot of sense as a character. Also, I just realized, Jack, you never reached the fake out ending.
No, but I
Where your arm gets torn off.
I read
and
about
you
it.
Never put the armor on and went into Rotfront all decked out in gear.
You should absolutely finish the Lock Tomb series.
You know,
Yeah.
I should.
there's a scene like that. Well, never mind. Your arm doesn't get ripped off. But there's a scene like that in Callisto Protocol.
It's not even that your arm gets ripped off. You rip your own arm off trying to get that door open. with so much determination that you're going to break your body against the hull of this ship before you stop. And you do, and then you keep going. I love it. I think we've more or less explained the gameplay of the game, right? But,
Are we going to go to story?
well, I was going to say we should, before we go into story, I think the game intentionally gives information in a order that makes it hard to understand. Because they'll use terms first, and then it'll explain those terms later on in the game. I think by explaining what the Penrose is, what replicas are, what bioresonance is, first and foremost, we can talk about the story in a way that makes sense.
I also don't think that, it does that, but you can make educated guesses.
You can. You absolutely can.
From
It's
what
not
I've
too hard to figure out.
explored, story-wise, it seems they'd give you like the timeline out of order on purpose.
Yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with like what's happening in the story.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought of something that makes a lot of other things make sense.
What?
This might have to be moved and edited. But the problem... Okay, you know why those two are, timelines are divulging and commingling?
Why?
It's because of the character you're playing, the L-Star unit.
Because
it's copied from a neurological pattern that originally knew Alina.
Yeah, because you went to war with Alina.
So therefore you're part of the factor. A major part of the factor.
You definitely are.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
First and foremost, let's talk about replicas, because then
Yeah.
we can talk about how there's a constant theme throughout the whole thing of copying memories over and inserting them into other people.
Talk about the setting.
So, replica is... Actually, I should probably start with... humanity was raised to the stars by this Empress, who was bioresonant, which is just kind of like the psychers of the setting. They can psychically impose their will onto other people. That is the main ability that they have. In theory, they could warp reality. In practice, that is supposedly very uncommon until the events of the game. And whenever it did happen, it was on a very small scale. So, the events of the game are kind of a standout case. Anyways, the Empress was stood up against by some sort of great revolutionaire who led forces of replicants, which they made with bioresonance. Now, replicants are what happens when you take a metal frame, a metal skeleton, and you take cloned cells from a person and build them around that skeleton to create something of a cyborg using cultures made with their cells. And then you modify and then transfer over some memories from that person into it so that it can pick up their skills, but has a lot of its actual memories repressed.
Is that what neural pattern stands for in general? Is that just for memories, or is that overall neurological?
It's memories and overall the person's mind in general, how they work.
Gotcha.
And this way they were able to basically clone the most the strongest people of the revolution and turn them into something ridiculously overpowered in the replicants. And in the process of doing this, they sealed away all the people that they were creating neural patterns of in a vault somewhere, and that part doesn't end up important to the game.
I thought they just had those neural patterns sealed away.
No, they sealed away the people too.
Oh, I didn't know it was actually
They physically had the people somewhere. Anyways, so replicants are ridiculously durable, can survive way more than what a human can, are able to cooperate in ways through bioresonance networks with each other that humans can't, because they're all really susceptible to connecting to each other through bioresonance, and are generally far more competent. Now, the new government that was rising to stand against the Empress was, as far as I can tell, still led by humans, but they did create the Folks, which are what is implied to be replicants of the original revolutionaire, given a bunch of really strong bioresonant abilities, and followed around by a cadre of Calibris, which are replicants designed to take a bioresonant network and extend it. So, in theory, a Falk with enough Calibris could control, like, any people around her, even normal humans, which are called gestalts in this. It makes for a really interesting setting when the weird disease kicks in, because what would kill a human near instantly leaves replicants to suffer near eternally, because their, like, biological parts are corrupting, but their mechanical parts are still operating perfectly. And that's how we get the sort of zombies of the setting, so to speak.
Very biomechanical.
Very biomechanical. It's really interesting. It creates for a very nice aesthetic.
Bionicle.
The aesthetics of the game are
Bionicle.
bionicle.
Matanui.
Gathered friends, listen again to the story of Bionicle.
I think it's like really interesting. It reminds me a lot of like Blade Runner, how there are replicants and humans. Mm-hmm. Although I think it's a little like like in a very technical sense, different than that.
A little bit.
Rather than just like cloned replicas, this is very, very metal, so to speak.
Yeah.
I know there's specifically some stuff that is just like organic matter that is very much bioengineered, because at one point I read in a note how you're not supposed to like gestalts weren't supposed to like interact or like essentially like what are they called? What are the replicas called?
Replicants?
Or is it just replicants? Because the replicants like blood is like toxic to humans.
Oh, that note was more interesting than that. The note was saying, if you're dying on your ship and you're out of food, don't eat your replicant because the like coolant fluid they use as blood or whatever is toxic to humans. It might look like blood, but it's not blood.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah.
A bunch of even like the biological elements to the replicas have been engineered to be specifically different to serve purposes. I don't know.
But no feet.
No feet.
No feet.
Well, I think there's... Did any gestalts in the game have feet? Because I know you see a character model.
Are they German who made this game? Or?
I think...
I don't know.
I think so, yes.
It has a lot of words that are like German or...
It also used a lot of Chinese characters.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's like a mixture of different things.
I do think it's
so I wasn't sure if it was like real words or not.
German. I think the aesthetic and style that, you know, you experienced in the game was something they were going for overall, but I do think it was German, or made in Germany.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Cannot figure out if Issa has feet.
It's always flashing words that seem...
Right, but that's what I was going to say. There's absolutely a 3D model of, or a place...
Why does she not have feet?
It's an aesthetic choice.
This one's a gestalt, this one's a human.
Or gestalts aren't even humans.
Aw, snap.
I don't know about that.
Well, when yeah.
Wait a second. Is Issa... Okay, so my main theory right now, the core problem with it is that Issa
doesn't have feet. Oh, yeah.
No.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
That Issa is not in the mining, or is in the mining facility, because that kind of ruins my timeline. The Gestalt would still be alive this far in the future.
Is Issa in the mining facility, or is she in nowhere?
Oh. She's in both. She shows up really early in the mining facility. She's walking around with a knife.
I feel really bad because I didn't do much in the mining facility. Well, I did the first time. I went around and talked to everyone and got some stuff. And then I jumped down the... no, I didn't. I died while trying to open the big hole. And then, once that happened, when I reloaded, I just went right back to the big hole, opened it, and jumped down it without doing any of the other stuff around it. I didn't gather shit. I didn't look to... I'm sure there's places I didn't explore. And I absolutely didn't talk to the Mina that's, like, suit had broken. Just a little disappointing.
Bayo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bayo's cool.
Bayo's cool.
I like Ara the best though. The one who's just like sitting in the vents reading a bunch of classified documents, being like, "Fuck that! They don't care. They just want us to like work and like not be a problem." I'm never going back to that mine. I was like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. There's this, like, running theme that they, like, took the psychosis of these replicants, or took the psychosis of the gestalts that they're replicants of, and tried to find ways to, like, subdue them in every way possible so that they could, like, ignore the psychological aspect of these replicants so they can use them as tools as easily as possible. So when you see lines about, like, hey, gestalts, don't eat your replicants, it very much speaks to the fact that, like, replicants are secondary and they exist to serve the gestalts as tools, despite having functionally a full, like, human intelligence to them. And the way they maintain this is by, like, researching how do we keep the replicants from, like, both, like, breaking their mental blockers and remembering their memories, but also how do we keep them, like, subdued and happy.
Yeah. I mean, that note specifically was to the Gestalt, like you said, and it said, don't let the replicant read this. This is just a replicant read this. It's just for you. And you also run into a bunch of other notes throughout the games that serve two purposes. They basically narratively show you that what June just said, like denoting like specific replicants, what they like, what they don't like, their general temperament based off of their neurological pattern, and things to specifically not introduce them to. It's like some will be like, I don't know if it's Calibri or not. I think a Calibri needs like a well-stocked library, but like don't play them music or stuff like that.
Don't talk to Elster about the war.
Yeah. There's a bunch of, like, guidelines, and all of these are classified, too, and it's, like, only for Gestalt eyes only that you end up finding. And, I guess, it's the same purpose,
but... A lot of them are only for Falk's eyes, I believe, only for Commander.
Oh, that makes sense.
The majority of the ones in the facility.
Which is weird, because Falk is a replicant, too.
Yeah, but none of them are on Falk. Or maybe there was one on Falk, I forget.
There absolutely is a Falk one towards the end.
I feel like
or not even towards the end. I think you get the Falk one before you find the Elster one. But regardless, those also... I didn't realize this. Those were the different enemy types. I think Storch has, like, the shield.
Storch is the one where it's, like, contorted and it's got, like, a hanging arm out in front of itself where it charges at you. I think that's an arm. People call it a snoot when I looked it up, and I was like, that is not a nose.
It looks like the face has just done some weird thing.
Yeah, I figured that it was like missing half of its torso and it had its arm hanging in the front, because that's why it whacks you with it.
I did not realize that.
That was my guess.
I absolutely thought
I could be very wrong. But that's the only way I could, like, make it work in my head, especially since they're so tall.
Calibri are the ones that you have to dial the certain radio station for to find the one to shoot.
To find the one to shoot?
Yeah.
You shoot them?
What did you do?
If you dial their radio number enough times, they just die.
What?
No. If you dial the radio number once, like, it depends on how many times you do it, but each time, it like the first one will, like, flash and show you which one is the main... is in control. It's almost like a white box instead of like a red one. And if you shoot the one that it shows, the whole thing just ends.
What if you shoot the wrong one?
It keeps going, or it might attack you, or
something. Why wouldn't you just shoot each?
I just did the frequency a couple times, and then I just shot randomly. I just happened to hit the right one.
If you stand there repeatedly doing their frequency, they eventually shut down.
Yeah, but after the second one, I was like, this is taking too long.
You have to do it like 4 times.
It, like, identifies the ringleader. And I only ever did it, like, twice, and I go, oh, it's that one, and go, bam. And then it was... Stop the whole thing.
There's a really mean room in Rot Front after you go through the meat grinder.
Yeah.
Where, like, you walk into the room, there's a bunch of Calibris everywhere, and then there's a bunch of other replicants that are just, like, limping towards you. You have to solve the Calibri thing fast enough that you can then just handle the other replicants and shoot them.
Oh, no, I just ran past all of them.
What? You can run past the Calibris?
Yeah. You can just, like, leave a Calibri.
No one can run past barbed wire.
That's true. I was playing on the classic mode, but I also had like super speed.
Anyways, where were we?
Was there a way to change the frequency, like, without going to the pause menu?
Yeah, if you hit Q and E.
If you go to the...
I was playing on Steam Deck.
Oh.
So it was super annoying to have to keep going back to the pause menu.
It might show you, because whenever you encounter a Calibri enemy, it automatically turns the radio on for you in that little bottom half of the screen, and it'll sometimes show you the direction or the keys that you can change that with.
What button do you usually change the frequency using?
In the menu.
No, like, Jack. What buttons do you hit when you're in the menu?
Left and right.
You just go up, and then when you go over, you do left and right, I'm pretty sure.
The same left and right that moves your character, usually?
No, you move the character with stick.
So left and right probably changes the frequency even.
Well, I didn't think about that, so that would have been nice to know.
It skips some in-between frequencies, but I don't think you need those anyways.
Yeah.
But it is fun if you put it to, like, 85.5, then instead of it going to 86, 87, 88, it'll be like, it'll just do the 0.5, so it'll jump the full degree. It'll be like 86.5 to 87.5, you won't have an even number. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that changes much.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, we've got the replicants figured out. Next important piece of information is the Penrose program. You are playing an Elster who is one of many Elsters. The one that you... I don't know how to approach this one. Because you play as more than one over the course of the game. There's definitely one main one that you play.
You're playing as an Elster unit. And you start the game, I think, on your ship, right? You leave a ship.
I've got interesting stuff to say about the start of the game, but I want to talk about what the Penrose was specifically.
Well,
outside
just
of
describe the Penrose program.
Yeah. So the Penrose program is where you stick a Gestalt and an Elster onto a ship, and you launch it basically from a cannon in a direction, and they've got really big sensors on the ship. They can check every plant that they pass by. They can change their trajectory slightly as they fly. And they send a bunch of those out, and those are in charge of finding planets that they can land on and start determining if it can support life. Now, this might sound like a suicide mission. That's because it kind of is. They give you... Someone calculated out there was about 8 years worth of supplies based on the messages that were left by Ariane, and that doesn't seem...
less than that. I thought it was like 3 or 6.
Maybe, I thought it was they might have been lasting longer by reusing filters and somehow getting by on rationing out their rations.
But they told you not to do that.
They told you not to do that.
I also told them not to.
But the messages before things get really bad and they go into cryostasis was about 80%. That's when they got the, hey, you guys are probably going to die message.
Yeah, anyways. But they were... She was also supposed to go into cryostasis before it got to that point.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
Anyways, it is honestly really dumb, and I think the game kind of acknowledges that, because on the message where it explains to the characters that, if they haven't found a plant that'll sustain them yet, they'll probably die, it does say, well, you can take solace that other people exceed where you failed, and that you took part in a glorious display of the strength of our country. Right? That makes it seem really kind of pointless, admittedly.
I don't think it's pointless. I think you're just expendable to them.
Yeah.
And
life is really expendable.
Then you also get to see how they're not only willing to just expend replicants like their water, but now you're also seeing the Gestalt being used the same way. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there are some fascist undertones to the I don't know, military that you're in.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's just part of it, right? It's like you're serving this greater cause.
There's a reason why the Red Eye is such a image of the suffering of Rotfront.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is the eye of fascism looking down upon them. Anyways, so where was I? Right. The crux of the story. So there's a lot of things in the story that can be like debated because there's a big influence of the idea of like a world of dreams leaking into a reality, and you're not sure which you're in at any given time. But stuff that is like guaranteed is that a Elster unit in Ariane were on a failed Penrose mission. That ship crash landed on a planet somewhere. Ariane went into cryostasis. Elster died. The country that you came from, at some point in time, found that Elster unit. And they had somehow run out of Elster units. This part of the story I don't really like very much because it doesn't make as much sense.
Is it that literal that Elster unit?
It's the last Elster unit somehow.
I think it's
within the past.
It's not that. It's not the Penrose Elster unit that they use.
Is
it?
They say that they found an Elster unit from a failed Penrose.
Oh.
So it's heavily implied, and that's the whole reason why you've got all those memories.
Interesting.
So that process of taking memories from a Gestalt and putting them into a replica, they did that with an Elster into new Elsters. Now, this comes with the problem that if this Elster went through a whole bunch of trauma, every Elster that comes after them has that trauma now. That ends up being like a driving factor in the story.
They originally lost the neurological pattern.
Yep. And it doesn't really explain how they lost the neurological pattern. I am suspicious that there's more going on there, but sticking with just what the text gives us, they lost the neurological pattern, they found an Elster from this failed Penrose project, and they used that one's neurological pattern.
So throughout the game, you're either bouncing back and forth between, like, flashback memories. You start out on the Penrose ship. You just don't really know what's happening, I guess. You don't really know what's happening through most of it. And then a lot of the game also takes place on Sierpinski post, like, zombification of the sickness that's going through it. You slowly collect notes and learn about this... I don't know if it's a virus. They just describe it as like an illness that spread through the ship.
Or not through the ship, the facility.
Yeah. And different accounts of either different units or gestalts engaging with that at the time. And here and there, you'll bounce back to memories that you have with Ariane on the Penrose.
Mm-hmm. Now, there is... So the disease itself seems to spread through bioresonance. Spreads through like a psychic connection between all the people in the facility. And the Gestalts, like I mentioned earlier, basically die instantly as a result. So fast even, there's a bunch of like scorch mark outlines on some of the walls in the deeper areas of it, where it's implied that people were basically just vaporized. Adler has a note about that.
Really?
Yeah, it's really strange. You also, I noticed a couple of those in Rotfront too. Additionally, there seems to be some sort of physical warping of the environment, some sort of meat everywhere. There's more and more the deeper you get into the mining facility. Sometimes it's blocking off paths, sometimes it's like entire walls are made of meat.
Sometimes it's whole areas.
Levels. Sometimes it's whole levels. Sometimes the whole world is meat. Sometimes you like go through a gateway and you just get into the meat dimension somehow.
It's like you're walking through like a big organ, which I think is an interesting allusion, especially to the replicants themselves or replicas themselves.
How do you figure?
Well, some of the facilities, especially in Nowhere, it's like this old, like rusty, like metal, just paired with like this raw, fleshy material.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And I think that those two things, like, coexisting, I don't know, is a parallel to just replicas as a whole.
Yeah. There's this theme throughout the whole game about, like, trying to reach a world of dreams to be able to see your loved one again there. and that's communicated mostly through the paintings because there's what it was called the Isle of the Dead, right?
Yes.
There's this painting called the Isle of the Dead that the mythos behind it goes that if you like sleep with it being in your room, you're able to visit like dead loved ones in your dreams. And there were many copies made of it by many different artists that have ended up with very important people throughout history as very important collector pieces. And most of that is caused by that like myth behind it. Now, Signalis uses this as a very literal concept. Whenever it's trying to communicate, Elster trying to reach Ariane, who like is effectively dead in this setting, right? She's sealed away in her cryo chamber. It is always Elster traveling to this like island, the island that's shown in the painting. That's what's shown in a lot of like the game does this sort of weird aesthetic choice of having a bunch of images flash on your screen really quickly at times. And sometimes they'll just like flash 5 different copies of the same painting all in a row, and it's all just the Isle of the Dead. And there's like interesting approach they did with this in that they made an actual like 3D environment of the island, and they did like a 3D prop of there's the sister painting to it that someone else did where it's instead of it being the island, it's a like beach that's looking out to where the island would be, and there's a boat waiting for you there. And at times, at very pivotal moments throughout the game, Elster like goes into like this weird first-person mode as she like in between chapters gets to visit this beach and move a little bit closer to the boat. Until finally, at one point, when she's come as close to death as she will in the whole game, she does get to go on the boat, and it takes you to the final chapter. And so, obviously, taking these paintings into account, Dreaming has created some sort of, like, place you can go to. Like a physical area that Ariane has created, which, like, explains there's almost like a second world inside the planet that you reach by going through the mines. And I don't know why it's specifically on this planet, because this is not the planet the Penrose crashed on. But it is the place where the Penrose can be accessed from, through these gates. And those gates are seen at, like, a couple of pivotal moments throughout the game. Most importantly, it's seen at the very beginning and the very end of it. At the beginning, I think the way it goes is you wake up as an Elster, and you wander outside, you see the gate, you travel through it, you see a couple of things, scene ends. You wake up as a different Elster, which probably was metaphorical for the first Elster dying, I guess, because she, like, wakes up without Ariane being there, when she very much is still inside the ship. Where am I going with this?
I don't think you immediately think or know that Ariane's dead. I feel like you barely know who Ariane is when you start the game.
She's not dead. She's just cryogenically sealed, but she's effectively dead.
Yeah, but you don't know
for the metaphorical use of the Isle of the Dead, and for Elster trying to like basically dig through hell to reach her. She's effectively dead.
Yeah, I mean it's haunting.
She's dying from the radiation, though.
I think when
she is, but the cryo chamber is like kind of keeping her alive.
I think when you first start the game, you go open the cryo chamber, it's empty, and I think you see that one of the suits for traveling outside in hazardous conditions is gone, and you put on the other one, and then wander through a snowstorm. So there's like this inkling of like, I have to find, and that I think that basically gives you not the plot but the motivation for the rest of the game is you are trying to find someone, and I think the game muddies these two parallel stories along the way, like intentionally so, between you don't know whether you're looking for Alina or Ariane, because Alina is part of the facility, the mining facilities story originally. And is very similar to these memories that you have as an Elster unit of Ariane. So,
aren't they all just like a mixture of dreams? and memories.
I don't believe the whole thing. I think I can pin down some reality to the setting. Noah seems very sold on the whole thing is bioresonance.
I think the Penrose program happened post the facility, but I think
no,
both a Falk nearing the end of its life cycle and kind of degrading, and Ariane being like sick and in a cryo space and dreaming, right?
Yeah.
And being associated with like high bioresonance has created this huge feedback loop that even when you start the game as the L-Star unit, you do go looking for Ariane, but then you just crawl into a meaty hole, and then you do the Isle of the Dead thing, and then you find up on yourself on like the facility, which can't really happen.
Yeah, it can. Those are two different Elsters. The first Elster
perspective, or is it
your
Elster?
I am convinced of it. The first Elster you play when you first boot up the game is the Elster. What is it, Elster 512 or something?
Oh, the one that died with Ariane.
Yeah,
and why isn't Ariane in the chamber then?
I think you're already dead. Because what you do immediately after you exit the ship, after you do like a small minor tutorial puzzle and exit the ship, is you find yourself out in that like red desert, and you travel through the gate, and then you're never seen again. I think that is the send-off to that Elster. That is that Elster dying. And when you go back to the ship later, you find that Elster is just lying around in a room somewhere, broken.
That's
and you
true.
have the line of like, I was never able to keep my promise.
But here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a memory from an Elster unit whose neurological pattern was taken from that dead Elster unit on the ship? Or, because that ship crashed, Elster died, Ariane's asleep in the pod, does that not start affecting the bioresonance of a completely separate Elster unit to then have these memories of Ariane?
Well, I think
you never start out as the Elster unit.
There's got to be a little bit of a time skip there, because that Elster then needs to have its neural pattern scanned and used to make a new Elster, for that new Elster to have those memories. For there to be a new Elster in the first place.
It's specifically because of the Falk unit.
Let's start making a timeline here.
Isn't it because... Okay. So I'll say what I have heard. Or how I understand, because it's confusing. But... So the Primrose thing goes out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And aren't those two, like, in love?
Yes.
Okay. So they're in love.
Terribly in love.
They're traveling. It's failed. The ship's just gonna go... She's gonna die or something.
Mm-hmm.
They make the promise, like, you promise you'll, you'll kill me so I don't have to suffer. She freezes her in the cryo thing. It crash lands on that mining planet. It's there for about 3,000 years until the cryo chamber gets opened up because the battery is starting to break down or whatever, the nuclear battery, which poisons her. I don't remember their names, but so she is dying, but she is using her like powers or whatever to like sort of like guide the other one.
I think there's some degree of guiding going on.
But at the same time, the Falk one is patient zero for that disease that's happening and infecting everything. So that's all happening like at the same time.
But the original Elster unit that was in love with Ariane died.
Yep.
And I don't think it happened like 3,000 or whatever years ago. Or even if it did.
700. I'm pretty confident in that one.
I heard 3,000.
3,000 cycles was the amount of time before their anniversary.
3,000 cycles.
Which would have been 8 years.
Whatever it was.
About that.
But then there was like 200,000 cycles or whatever that ended up being the rest of the years.
I think it's childhood memories of Alina that remind a different Elster unit of Ariane because a bunch of bioresonance stuff is happening.
Yeah, 'cause they also, you said they copied the Elster. So it's got memories.
I think
but it's faulty, but then also... It's like all the stuff happening at once.
I've got a way to solve this timeline.
Because the thing is...
I don't think it can be solvable.
No, I've got a solution for this timeline.
The people who made the game left it open purposefully, so that it's not... You can't be solved.
How I read it also is that everyone else has a specific neurological... Or all the different replicants that you have has a specific neurological pattern, right? And they want it to be as not bland, but serving the purpose of that specific unit as possible, right? Mm-hmm. And they strip away all personality. Obviously, it's going to... have a, whatever they called persona.
Persona.
Yeah, it's persona something, but they're going to change with interacting, right? They're not all going to stay carbon copy, but they want them as similar as possible. Mm-hmm. And I think a bunch of L-Star units, like the original L-Star neurological pattern and or person or both, got destroyed. Mm-hmm. And then they found an L-Star unit that was left over. Right? I think this Elster unit is only as susceptible to... And the Elster with Ariane, and I think the Elster with Alina are both past. They're copies of the Elster that they already found and had to start using again.
Yes.
So this Elster unit is flawed. Therefore, I don't think it's the Elster unit that was with Ariana that was the imperfect copy that they found. But I think this whole thing is possible because Elster is an imperfect copy or had one that maybe persona degradation had already started happening to. But they're just like, oh, yay, an Elster copy, let's use it. So
yeah.
I find it hard to believe that the Ariana one is the one that they found. But hey, anything could circle around, tie back together. With the bioresonance thing, that once it finally, or feedback loop once it starts happening.
Wait a second. Throughout the whole game, there's a theme of memories being overwritten onto other people. I think of Falk having the memories of Elster being written into her head by Ariane, right?
But they say leave the unit alone. Huh? Wait a minute, go ahead.
Even if we do assume that, going with that, Ariane had, written in the memories of her Elster into other Elsters, why would they then have the, sidestep of also saying, well, we also got all of our Elsters off of one Elster somewhere?
Now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're an Elster unit that is looking for Alina. Mm-hmm. But
yeah,
there's
you say
also
so at the start of the game.
I think your Ariana... is dying in a pod somewhere and asleep and is a gestalt that has...
She's not asleep, though.
She's dreaming.
Yeah, because she's, psychic.
Yeah, she's
I thought she was in the cryopod and dreaming. Cause
she's not in the pod, necessarily.
She's in the pod.
Well,
you find her in the pod and you strangle her in the pod.
Yeah, she's awake, though. She's just dying.
Her, spirit is able to go and do things, but, her body itself is frozen in the pod.
So she's basically frozen and asleep halfway across the galaxy and, dying of radiation poisoning.
You think, every time she shows up, it's like a ghost. Across the galaxy, it's traveled so far.
Way far away from Sierpinski.
The Penrose itself...
She was originally supposed to go to Sierpinski. Now she's 6 or 8 years
she could have gone to Sierpinski if she didn't end up on the Penrose program. But the Penrose got shot across the galaxy and crashed on a planet somewhere. I promise I've got an idea for this.
So you're looking for Alina in this facility, right? And you're like, no, she's probably dead. She's probably dead. But because of all this bioresonance feedback, stuff keeps breaking down. And you keep getting these memories. And, this other girl who looks really similar to someone else being like, you made a promise to this Elster unit, and you start mistaking yourself for the Elster unit that's out there.
You're remembering, though. You're remembering your promise.
There's absolutely also dreams that do not have anything to do with the Isle of the Dead. There's that one where you're in the classroom when you're younger. Mm. You know? Mm-hmm. There's that one...
I believe the one in the classroom might be remembering from when you were, your Gestalt, the one that you were originally replicated from.
Yes.
Because it is implied that one of the people that went off to be a soldier from that planet ends up being Elster further down the line.
And then there's also another memory where you're out on the radius. There's the remote radio thing.
Out on Ariane's mother's radio station.
Yep. That's what I think's happening, but I could be wrong. It all gets like.
So you're saying the white-haired girl's not there?
No, of course she isn't.
What do you mean? There's 2 white-haired girls, and I had to like read the fan wiki at the ending.
There's 2 white-haired girls because there was a brown-haired girl who, partway through the Sierpinski catastrophe, turned into Ariane. There's 2 girls, what? Alyssa and Ariane.
I don't think anyone turned into anyone.
That's the whole point of the Metamorphosis room, where it's got the big Metamorphosis painting. It's got the writing talking about how she's turning into Ariane.
I thought that was just like a bioresonance feedback thing coupled with her dying of radiation.
With Ariane dying of radiation? Because this was Alyssa writing that.
Yeah, but she is getting sick, right?
Yeah, she's getting sick with bioresonance
and she's changing to look like her, but that's based off of Ariane's interactions with Elster.
What are you talking about? Alyssa's writing those words herself.
Alina?
Or Alina. She's sitting down in that chair, pen and paper, saying, I am turning into someone else that looks different and has different memories.
Yeah, because yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think she's like, well, maybe.
Metamorphosis. I'm confused.
A lot of people are doing that. That happens to Adler, too.
Does happen to Adler, to some degree. He does talk a lot about extra memories coming to mind, but Adler isn't turning into Alina. And I mean, not Alina, fucking Ariane. And I think the reason... I think the reason why Alina turns into Ariane is because she is really close, if not in love, with an Elster unit. An Elster unit that up to that point had not remembered its promise or remembered Ariane. And this is the crux of my theory, which is...
You think the Ariane stuff happened a long time ago?
I think the Ariane stuff happened a very long time ago. I think the Alina stuff happened a somewhat long time ago, but not quite as long ago. And then a couple hundred, maybe even a couple thousand attempts of Elster showing up at this facility happen until you're the one that makes it through. So Alina's long gone. Ariane is on a distant planet that is connected to the Sierpinski mining facility through this like weird dreaming state that only was brought here because Ariane wanted to be in the position of that Alina that ended up in a relationship with an Elster. And that is why she ended up imposing her literal, like, everything onto this Alina. And that's the only way I can explain why the Pinrose that's really, really, really far away can be found on Sierpinski. In Sierpinski.
Well, I think that's just a weird bioresonance time-space thing. But... I don't think it can actually be found on that.
It's a weird bioresonance time-space thing, but why would that weird bioresonance time-space thing happen specifically in Sierpinski? Why would that be the place the Elsters are brought to? I think it's because there's another love story happening that ends up being hijacked.
There's no Elster on that ship because they make allusions to an Elster maybe got sent here, but there isn't one inherently there. I think
there's definitely one that Alina knows because she talks a lot about Elster.
Before, when she was in war, and then she came and
knew the original Gestalt?
No. Well,
she did know the original Gestalt because she's got that photo with her standing next to the...
Yeah. So really, maybe that happened a long time ago. And the Ariane thing is new. But I saw Alina changing into Ariane as more of a concept of Elster... memories and dreams going through that same feedback loop because Ariane can interact with those, right? As well as the Falk unit. So I assumed that was just a side effect of Elster being confused, looking for Alina, but also having these memories of Ariane. I think they just started to Alina just started to morph into Ariane. She's not the bioresonance one, so therefore her will can be impacted by that. I just think it's the Elster unit's thoughts and memories getting shot through Alina's bioresonance like dream and having an effect on reality.
I don't think
That makes
our
more
approach
sense.
is too different from each other, admittedly.
No, it's very...
There's no right answer,
It's
honestly.
semantics.
It's all crazy. It's all a dream. It's real or it's not real.
I think it's a combination of
You
real and not
Just
real.
have to play the game, listener, and let us know.
Definitely pick up any scrap of paper
Oh,
you
yeah.
see. I was upset and got really paranoid halfway through the game because there are areas with a bunch of enemies that I had like ran past like 3-4
That all side
times.
papers in them.
That there's like posters and I want to collect those. You know what I mean?
I know,
And, like,
right?
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I feel like I probably didn't look at just because.
Noah just like tearing through posters, going, "There's no feet on any of these."
I like that style choice. I honestly
Yeah.
thought it looked pretty cool.
I think the style of this game is incredible. They go really far to make like the whole like HUD of it and every part that you like interact with feel like you are. It's like the whole looking through the Terminator's eyes thing. You feel like you are interacting with the world through being a replica.
What is...
Even the tutorials talk about like your buttons being like literal things in the setting.
I don't know if you noticed, but your little reticle that you have, right?
Mhm.
You know when you boot up the game, and you're on the menu and it's like doo doo doo, and you have
Yeah.
the eye following your cursor.
Yeah, like
Yep.
that.
The eye has your reticle in it. That's like the center of the eye, the replica's eye, and then that is just your cursor in the game itself.
You know, I just realized
I don't know,
something
I played it on
interesting.
Steam Deck, so...
Wait a second, I think I just realized something interesting. You know when Adler stabs your eye out?
Yeah.
I did notice that you couldn't use the menu after that.
What menu?
Any of your HUD. It all disappears after your eye gets stabbed.
Really?
Yeah, you can't pull it up.
Oh.
My eye didn't get stabbed until like.
Yeah, at the very end, but you get to move around a little bit at the end and explore the ship a little bit.
We should
I
talk
could look at
about
my-
the endings.
My HUD. I could enter my menu.
No, you couldn't.
I'm pretty
You could
sure.
enter the escape menu, but not the tab.
I'm pretty sure I could tab.
You could usually when you're in the ship, but after the final scene at the gateway where Adler stabs you, couldn't do it.
If you say so.
I wanted to because I wanted to be able to check
You
the
still
radio.
got one good eye.
You still got one good eye, but it might not be the eye that your HUD is connected to. It is your left eye that is seen on the main menu, and that's the one he stabs.
I just know that the little reticle there in the eye
Mhm.
is the same one as the menu. I like how it bleeds as you drag it across the screen too. Like it has that like almost like 3D effect where it's
Man, I
like,
should have played it on PC.
Yeah.
it's really cool. I love the like tech they have in the game. Like when you go to interact with a computer in game, or like it all feels like not quite analog, but very like retro technology
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
a very cool way that is also superimposed over the layout of the game as well.
I like that
Just
you
how it looks.
physically interact with everything. Like, when you hit a button, you have to, like, click on that button and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And press it in.
I like how you can see the refresh rate either cutting down or across certain screens that you interact with.
Did you notice that, like, the same screen that is played from, like, the red screens that are used as the save points plays when Ariane wakes you back up after you've torn your own arm off?
Yeah.
I think
Do you
think
wake
there's...
back up or do you wake yourself back up?
Well, I don't know about that.
So I read it very much as like you're driven.
What's up with the save thing? If you don't save, it says you're going to regret it.
I noticed that. I
it's
think
just
the
a
same
fucking
thing is how Ariane is interacting with you on your way through. Because the fact that the scream is connected both to the screens and to Ariane later. And
Well, it's like in Constantine, the animated movie.
what?
That scream. Just over and over and over again.
the girl
Oh.
falling through the portal.
Yeah. One interesting thing from data mining, which I know you're not supposed to use for lore implications, is that all the cameras in the game that are following you are referred to as red eyes. And the main camera that Unity is using to track the player is also called a red eye. And the red eye over Rotfront seems to be like somehow bioresonant. I don't know how that connects back to Ariane, but it might in an interesting way. Someone smarter than me could do something with that.
I thought that was just a euphemism, not a euphemism.
It's like still a weather formation,
analogous to just like I thought it was like saying like Big Brother, red eye, like.
There's like a letter in it where they're talking about how like the red eye is used as a symbol from the people of Rotfront to talk about the fascists looking over them. Yeah. But I don't know. Red seems to be connected to Ariane. That's all I'm saying.
What do you got?
I liked one. It was like in the facility where you were going up and down floors for the first time. I think it was after the Adler unit kicked you down. You land on a pile of Elsters, which I do think multiple Elsters is interesting, and I like. Usually, it's in roguelikes that I like this element in games, but like a story element that explains why you're coming back. You know what I mean? And I think that that's kind of cool. I think they do that.
It also adds to the mystery of like
how many Elster units.
Yeah, you're like, why are there a bunch of other ones that are just kicked down this elevator shaft?
So, I think that is one of the theories, that there's just multiple Elster units.
I think that's guaranteed. I think that's one of the few cases in this game where it's not a theory.
But I really like when that is explained in a game, like you dying and continuing is explained.
Like Dead Cells?
I do like it in Dead Cells.
Is that what you're going for?
Well, usually it's an element that is in roguelikes, but hey, it can happen in this too, and I like seeing that. But once you get kicked down there, you can go to like, there's rooms on the left side where you go up and down stairways or ladders. And I just liked how certain rooms, that one is just a specific example, is only locked to like a certain area of the screen, and you can't like see past it or move past it. It makes it feel very claustrophobic. Also with long like hallways and stuff, you'd have to get pretty close to the edge of the screen with your Elster unit before the camera would bump along and like move and let you see more. Yeah. And it just created a really claustrophobic effect that I thought was
old school survival horror.
Alright. Let's see what I got.
There's 5 endings, right?
No, there's 5.
I thought there was like 4. 5 if you count the fake out.
Well, if you count the fake ending. Right?
Oh, okay.
I don't know a whole lot about the 4th, admittedly.
There's a fake out. There's an ending where you decide to just leave and you don't help out the girl. You just leave her behind.
Yeah, you just get to the ship and you leave.
Where you are too much of a coward to go in. And I believe that's caused by if you run past like most of the enemies in the game and you do very little fighting, you end up being too much of a coward.
That does affect the endings.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
Now, I know one is that you go in and she does not recognize you, and the promise is forgotten.
Oh, really? I didn't hear about that one.
She doesn't recognize you?
Yep. I've never gotten that one, so I don't know how that goes.
That's pretty fucked.
Yeah. And there's one where you go in and you remember the promises, and this is the one that actually manages to break the cycle, you know? Of you walk up and you strangle her to death.
Yeah.
As she begs you to kill her. It's really kind of fucked. And then you shut down just next to the crowd chamber because your job is complete, I guess. And then there's the artifact ending, which is like weird, and I haven't done it, so I don't really have a good explanation for it. Sorry. Honestly, the artifact ending seems like it's not designed to be gotten in a normal playthrough. It seems to mostly be designed for weird lore implications, if people really want it. It sidesteps the Falk battle entirely and goes straight to a cutscene where I don't even remember what happens in it. It's like placing a pot of lilies onto a pedestal or something.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fake out ending is something that happens partway through. where you like reach the ship, but you don't have the strength to open the door because you like tear your arm off trying to get the door open until like Ariane like appears in front of you and wakes you back up, and you manage to get up and get inside the ship through a hole in the hull, and you find a bunch of dead Elsters in there, including one that's been decked out in the infamous like Elster battle gear armor. And you tear that off of that body, put it on. You realize that Ariane is not there, and you go out to look for her again.
Or Alina.
Well, or Elena, I guess.
Which one is it?
No, I think partway through, you're like, once you remember enough of the memories from the original Elster, you start like looking for Ariane instead. I think it's implied pretty early on that you will never find Elena. She's either dead or has been replaced with Ariane. Which would mean 2 Arianes running around, so maybe there's still one out there to save. Who knows?
Wait, you don't kill the Elena that turns into Ariane.
I don't know, that might be the one you kill. That wouldn't solve anything if it was. That'd be really disappointing.
I don't think... Yeah, I think you killed the right Ariane.
Yeah. You go into the dream. You travel in. You find your way to her location. And you kill her there.
Mm.
It's seeing as that's the only one that breaks the cycle, whereas the other 2 would result in you as an Elster not succeeding. I consider Promise to be the correct ending. Because even if you didn't get Promise, the next Elster that tries might. And they'll keep trying until one of them does.
Describe the style as
very PS1.
Sci-fi, lo-fi, digital tech horror.
Core.
What was... I saw a video where it was like Signalis, but it was like a third-person shooter.
What?
Is that like a mod?
What the fuck?
Or something? I don't know.
It's probably a mod on another game. I saw that there's a Project Zomboid mod to make you into replicas. Thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was like Signalis. Like
Just
everything
take your feet away?
Yeah.
was there, but they were like running around the level and like shooting stuff. And I was like, what is this? Must have been mod.
There's so much connection to Lovecraftian stuff in this. It's an uncomfortable amount of Lovecraft.
Yeah. The scariest part of the game is understanding the story. That's the horror.
No, I think I've got an alright understanding of it. I'm pretty proud.
I think you should read The King in Yellow and see if that...
Maybe.
There's a lot, there's a lot
I haven't mentioned The King in Yellow because I have never read it. It plays a very important role, it seems, in the story of Signalis. But
yeah.
I do know I was very excited to talk to you about it because she did read The King in Yellow.
Oh, fuck.
She kind of struggled with it, but...
Alright. I could start
Final
just talking about
thoughts?
stuff that I thought was cool.
Sure.
I've got so many notes and stuff that I thought
I've got to
was cool.
wade through like actual notes. Like Cursor also looks like Eyes of Elstar on the homepage, right? Versus behind old medical chair, lot of enemies. Like just me reminding myself to go back to certain locations. Oh, I have one that just says I've got a little hat. I think that's when I was like finding out like about the previous relationship the Elster unit had with Ariane.
I wrote, it's pretty strange that Adler remembers testing the bioresonance of a girl with white hair. What happened there? And then I didn't write anything else on that one.
That's Ariane.
Yeah, that's Ariane, but...
It's right in... Yeah, when I accidentally loaded that other save, I thought the game was just trying to trick me. And I thought it was like some sort of weird twist.
What? 5 minutes in?
I don't know. Because it was just weird, because I had played and then I saved. And the next time I started it up, there was just like weird save files. And thought it was like a one-shot type thing.
Oh.
Because that was the last game that you made us play. And so
Okay, fair enough.
now I don't know anything
I
anymore.
found it kind of interesting that the lover's card is literally buried in the Isle of the Dead. And that you have to tear it out of it.
Yeah. June gave you the Unicorn Overlord type ending, where it's like the final boss is always there if you want to just go beat it. But...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but like the rifle makes the final boss fight really easy. Not to downplay your sick Resident Evil gaming skills.
I wanted to say that
I think I ran out of ammo for it pretty fast.
For the rifle?
Yeah.
I really like the area with the cooler where you have to jump into the meat grinder, because you walk into that and it sounds like being in an industrial like cooler area. Like the fans just going and it's like, I don't know, the aesthetics of it.
Really good sound in this game.
I feel like they really designed a protagonist that lends itself well to the weird love story thing they did with Ariane, because Elster is designed to be this like weird introverted loner that just like is always on her own for the entirety of this like trudge through hell. And so every time that you see a flashback, you're seeing like a side of her when she doesn't have to like be this absurd killer that's like grinding through bodies. And that contrast makes the love story work really nicely.
The dossier on the L-Star unit does say, like, leave them alone. Let them do their thing. They're fine.
Yeah, some of the puzzles don't work out very well on the Steam Deck.
No.
Yeah, so it was like, I don't know. It was like something I was trying to do, and I couldn't do it with the buttons. I had to end up like using the touchscreen, but it like wasn't. It still wasn't working properly, I guess. I don't know. Mostly works, but yeah, probably not the best way to play it. Although playing it on Steam Deck was pretty fun. I
think a portable version of it would be good.
It seems like I might have missed out on some stuff.
I leaned into the aesthetics by usually I have like my lamps turned on, so I've got like a soft light in the room. I would turn out all the lights except for my computer screen.
Well, the Steam Deck also has like good speakers too, and you're holding it like here, so you're getting like all that sound right in your face.
That would be nice.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
First time I played it was just like in a dark room on my laptop the whole way through. This time around, I like had it on the big screen, my lights on in my room. I'm sipping a fucking vodka sunrise on my way through, and I'm just like
vodka
firing away my grenades. Woo!
That's why we always call you Vodka Sunrise.
I thought the puzzles, were like, they could have been puzzlier.
Really?
Yeah.
Puzzlier?
I got through all of them, like, real easy. Like, most of the puzzles did just follow the trajectory of, like, if you just do the things in the right order, you're fine.
I think
there's a book next to the water pump one where it's just like, I read the one piece and it was like, to progress.
You read the One Piece, the whole thing?
Yeah, I read it all. Well, I read the one thing where it was like, this is what it needs to be. And I was like, okay. And then I picked up the other thing and it was like, this is how you get it to do that. And I went, oh. And I went,
yeah, that was pretty...
I think the game's...
went through it.
I think the game's really scared to let players fuck up, admittedly.
There's some that were kind of difficult. Like, when they changed the numbers on the safe... And you had, like, the little paper, but they were, like, smudged out.
Oh, yeah, the sword paper where...
Yeah. I don't know, it took me a minute.
And
then I liked how you had to use the X-ray machine to see the...
that was the only one I brute forced.
Floppy disk.
Which one? The sword one?
Yeah, because I knew all of the numbers except for the last one. And so I just went through. I went, last one 1. Last one 2. Last one 3. Last one 4.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what? I'm talking about when you need to make a copy of the key card.
Oh,
like
not
the
the
Earth
key card.
one. And you had to like look at it through the X-ray. And I guess it depends on what order of events.
You can figure out what the last letter is on the safe by looking at what letters are on it and what one is missing.
Yes.
And then just transpose that onto the 8 and then compare that over.
Oh. I went through all of it.
Well,
I immediately write.
They're also in a different order.
They are in a different order. Because the save switches over, but you can usually get it by just writing it through. I think a lot of the game is designed around not wanting to let the players fuck up. A good example is almost every area where you can find a save point, it makes it so that you can't, like, continue through anywhere until you find that save point. So it'll put, like, a key card inside the save room or in a room right past the save room.
Yeah.
That allows you access further into the facility. And that's every single save point.
Mm-hmm.
That is nice, though.
It does mean, though, so long as you got a key card or another item, as long as you go and immediately do that, you will never end up lost or wasting time because the game, like, never gives you too many rooms to wander through. It gives you itself piecemeal, and it doesn't let you really roam free. And I think that's also expressed in the puzzles, like you mentioned. It gives you, like, a lot of hints in the puzzle rooms and stuff. It's cowardice. It's still a really good game, and I don't think the puzzles are made worse for it. It's just, seem to have too much faith in us.
I think if they made it too hard for, like, a small game as it is, it would make people not want to finish through.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's not... Seems
Yeah,
like
imagine people didn't finish.
the story, confusing as it is, was important to them.
Mm.
I agree. I think it could stand to be harder. I think it was fine the way it was.
Mm.
It made me feel really good to just be like, another puzzle done. I'm a genius.
You know what one annoyed me because I didn't remember it this time around? I was looking at the tarot cards and I was like, all right, I've got 5 down. I'm guessing that the 6th one doesn't exist and that it would just be a full one for the last one, right? But then I spent like the next 20 minutes trying to figure out how to get the ring down from the scaffolding.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I really do need the 6th card, and went and got it, and the flesh just knocked the ring down for me.
Yeah. I saw the ring and I just didn't do anything. It was like, you can't get up here. Okay, fine, I guess.
Mm.
But I was like, where's that last card? And I went, oh yeah, all the way in the top right corner, there's a safe that I opened. Didn't have any inventory space for it, so I just left it there. And I have to run all the way back through a bunch of enemies. Which the route was, go all the way down to the bottom floor, walk through the haunted tunnel very slowly, and then go up through a bunch of treacherous alleyways on the very other side of it.
Yeah.
It was a long way to get there.
Both times that I've played now, I've done the same thing where I take a picture of the butterflies and then just carry that around and think, well, these are going to be relevant to a puzzle in a different room. And then half an hour later when I'm doing a different puzzle, I'll think, man, those butterflies haven't come up yet. Looked at the picture again and then just gone, son of a bitch.
Also, it was really easy. I just looked at the butterflies and went, Aeon, I'll remember that. And I did.
There's butterflies in a case that each have a letter on their wings. But it's hidden inside the design. Pretty clearly, though.
Right before that, they explained to you pareidolia.
Finding images and things.
Yeah.
And then it says pareidolia on the frame.
I opened that safe.
That's again a case of them not having much faith in us.
I think it's good. I like it. It keeps it contained to the individuals who would be doing that stuff because it's oh, this person's really into that. I guess that makes sense. I did open the safe and go, what the hell is in here? What are these?
It's just a bunch of butterfly.
It was chrysalises.
Chrysalises, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't realize there's butterflies all over the room. I was like, these things look like bugs, but not real. What are these? I felt really stupid.
Yeah.
Well,
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Again, I had a really hard time playing this game, even though I thought the gameplay was good. Aesthetics, fantastic. Sound design, really good. I enjoyed all the elements. Playing it, I had to push myself to do.
Really?
I was really glad that I finished it, though.
But you're not a survival horror kind of person.
You know what? I played Alan Wake, the first one, and not even remastered. Probably a month before this.
That's not really survival horror, though, is it?
I don't know.
Do you think it's the anxiety that the game
It was
plays
a survival
on?
horror. Well, I don't know. That was more of a narrative horror game. And I think it also is imbued with that cheesy campiness of Alan Wake, which I don't know. I could talk about the first Alan Wake for a little bit, but I don't know. I don't really want to.
Do that right now.
So I think there are reasons why it probably didn't stress me out or feel as grating to my senses to play. But I do think it was really cool that this game could inspire that emotion within me. It made me question of whether, like, man, should I even try Dead Space at this point?
Oh my!
I'm going to.
I don't think it's the horror atmosphere that does it. I think it's how the game gives you resources very piecemeal. You know?
Yeah.
There is a fear it instills that, like, oh, at some point I'm just going to be, like, out of everything and then I'll just die.
But I think that that's a really important element of, like, survival horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, I've played other games that have similar resource systems that just don't hit the same notes, and I think that's because I think they went through and they very carefully balanced out, like, what ammunition you get at what spots and tried to plan out how people would use those resources. And I think that does result in them only be able to do one difficulty level because there was no way they were going to do that balancing work for every difficulty level. But it also results in a very tailored experience.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It's balance.
Have I played? I don't think I've played more survival horror. So maybe it's just that. Do I know if it was for me? I don't know, but I am glad I finished it and I'm glad I played it.
God, that game made me cry, though.
It made me sad. I don't know if it made me cry.
I think if it was a little less confusing, I would have been more emotionally involved. Or if I played the whole game. But even if I did finish the whole thing, I think that, like, I don't know.
You never had to suffer through nowhere. Jesus Christ, what a painful area to navigate.
But I was so confused by all the different, like, replicas and everything else, and all the different characters that are similar but not the same, and, like, everything that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
It was, like, just too much going on.
What happened to me was, like, I was just picking all that up, and I was very glad that it stored all the stuff in your, like, that middle section on tab if you press up. Even at certain points, you find, like, there's this one point where you find a bunch of old medical records on, like, a computer. There's a button to just download that to the Elster unit, you know, that's using it.
It just shows a picture of files being sent to, like, a crouching Elster.
Yeah, it's just like...
It's, like, on an old Macintosh OS.
And I actually found a GIF that is just that.
Oh, I need that.
I'll tell her to send it to you.
Alright.
But, I really appreciated that in there because about 3/4 of the way through the game, I would be having more epiphanies on, like, what was happening, and I would just, like, put myself in the safe room and take, like, half an hour to read, like, very specific documents, bouncing back and forth between them, and then being like, oh, that's a Calibra unit, that's the enemy type, you know what I mean? I enjoyed just, like, reading the dossiers on things, but there were certain elements that I could now piece together. So I am glad that they had that as a whole system.
Yeah, the notes and everything are pretty nice. And
I had
done well.
Some epiphanies there. I had an epiphany when I walked in and saw the Falk unit as the final enemy. And I went, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And then I did have to research to discern that Ariane and Alina were two different people. But, yeah, I don't know. It was a little confusing. Aesthetically fantastic, though.
I think the fact that the game never, like, addresses that switch that happens between when you're looking for Alina and when you're looking for Ariane causes a good chunk of confusion in the game. Because it feels like your character has just, like, switched what the name they're using for the person they're looking for is, unless you, like, look into the details of the papers that's giving you.
Well, I think that's that's... I don't know if I want to open it back up to that, but I think that's just because of the Elster unit you are. You know what I mean? You show up.
You're an Elster looking for Alina.
Originally Alina's old Elster unit that gets sent to the facility and be like, oh my god, what the heck's going on here? I remember Alina. I gotta find her. You know what I mean? Because it's decrepit. And then you get a bunch of...
Do you think the hundreds and hundreds of Elsters that have come to this facility have all been looking for Alina and then switched over to looking for Ariane partway through? I think so.
Is Ariane the one that you have to find?
They both are ones that you want to find, but So when the game first starts, Elster looks at the mirror and goes, "I have to find Alina." And by the time that the game is ending, Elster is crying, going, "Oh, I don't want to have to keep my promise to Ariane."
Yeah. I think it's only the first couple times, maybe.
I mean, the girl that you find that you either kill or leave behind.
That's Ariane.
Okay.
I think it's confusing because...
I think they're all looking for her because she makes it that way.
Yeah. You're looking for Ariane,
she has
but you
the
keep getting
powers.
confused by Alina being at the facility.
I kept seeing something about her being a god or something.
Alina?
What?
Ariane.
Bah.
Something about
Yeah, I'm with this.
the
I
artifact
think
on the
Ariane's a god,
planet
too.
or whatever, too, sounded very Dead Spacey.
Oh.
What? I don't know about all
I don't know, sounds like a very red take. I think...
It wasn't Reddit. It was every fucking YouTube video.
Mm-hmm. I'm very set in my views on this one.
You're very passionate about it.
Yeah. I think Ariane dies somewhere. I think Elster gets uploaded and more Elsters are made. During a 10-year period, one of those Elsters ends up being close to Alina as a result of Alina being somebody that knew Elster before the replica of Elster was made in the first place. And then the catastrophe happens. Alina gets sent down into the mines with the rest of the Gestalts. She starts to slowly turn into Ariane for some reason. That reason is that Ariane... It literally is written in the text. That reason is that Ariane wants to put herself into the position of someone that's in love with an Elster again. She's seeking to make her dream become a reality in real space again. And to do that, she is turning Alina into herself. Maybe subconsciously, maybe unintentionally, but it is a result of her bioresonance. This was only possible because Falk ended up somehow connecting to her through bioresonance. Because Adler talks about Falk venturing out after finding this red gate out into this strange world of dreams or whatever. And Adler is only able to know about the gate because he is written as being very susceptible to bioresonance, probably the highest receptibility in replicas.
Simp.
Simp.
The thread that I read for somebody that saying this is how you get this ending, this is how you get this ending, breaking down the big Reddit post.
Yeah.
When they referred to Falk, it was Mommy Falk, but Mommy was crossed out. It had a line through it. So the first time they mentioned Falk, that's just how it was in there. Feels very Adler-core to me.
Feels very Adler-core. There's a lot of Adlers out there. Kind of like Adler though. I like how he's got his whole dementia subplot thing going on.
I could give a fuck less about Adler.
Really?
Yeah, get the fuck out of my way, Adler.
He held Sierpinski together through a catastrophe, and in this household he's a year.
He just wants to be a special little boy, and I don't care.
No, he doesn't. He wants to survive.
Does he?
Best.
He doesn't want to survive because Falk's sick. He can only survive if Falk's there. And then he wants, gold stars and kudos.
He's just scared. He's a scared little boy.
So?
All right.
Are we
7
ready?
out of 10?
I give it 8.5.
I give it a 9 out of 10. Maybe even 10 out of 10. One of my only 10 out of 10s ever.
Are you giving me a 10 or 9?
I'll give it a 10.
Can I do a 0.5? Is that legal?
That's legal.
Let's check with judges.
Hey, Jamie, can we do 0.5s?
You said 10?
Yeah.
And you said...
7 out of 10.
And I divide that by 30.
7 out
right?
of 10.5.
What? Oh, yeah, by 3.
I divide that by 3?
Mm-hmm. Wait, how much did you give? 8.5?
Yeah.
7 out of 10.5.
I think I gotta divide that by 30. No, wait. Equal, divide by 3. It's 8.5. I don't have to divide out 30.
8.5?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. 7 plus 8.5
That's pretty
is
high.
10.
That's our highest score.
That is. I mean, it was a good game. I do think...
This is the only time I'm going to rate a game that high, so,
No. What would you rate Ubermatch?
Well, I mean, Ubermatch is the best Ubermosh. Like, there's not another game that does what it does. Like, I guess it kind of gets a higher rate. What did I rate Ubermosh?
What did you rate?
Did I rate it?
Did we rate those?
I don't think
we
so.
did.
I don't know.
I don't think we did, because in order to like get the rating, we'd have to have like an average of it, and we didn't play each other's games.
If I'm rating Ubermosh amongst like $5 shoot 'em ups, I would rate it high. But if I'm like having to rate it in a way that competes with Signalis, there's no way it competes.
Very
Yeah, but
Signalis
think-
is such a labor of love.
very Ebert of
Alright.
you.
8.5
8.5.
out of
Maybe even a 9.
10.5.
What?
Wait, is it out of 10.5?
Don't you move the bar.
I don't know.
Out
It's
of
an
10.
8.5 out of something.
Out of 10.
8.5 out of 8.5. There we fucking go.
So
8.5 out of 9. Just
I
very
guess
close.
we would recommend everyone to play it.
I definitely would.
I would recommend it. I get if you go, I don't know if this is for me. If it stresses you out, I get it. It took me a while.
I think it's pretty interesting
Definitely worth your time.
with like the first person views and stuff. And,
How long?
I don't know. I think it's
I
a
wanna
decent
s-
time. It's supposed to be like what 10-hour game. Although I feel like it
Somewhere
would
around
take
that.
most people more than
I
that.
think a 12 to 15. Although it took me like 24 hours.
I paced myself. I was like, 3 hours a
It
night will
actually
get me
tells
there.
my game time.
And then, like, one of those nights I had to do, like, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But, so, like, 10 hours is about right.
Oh, I had an
It's not
18-hour
bad.
game time.
Oh. I think I clocked in at about 11 or 12.
I just got super stressed.
Yeah. A lot of that's probably backtracking.
Oh, there's one day I played a good 8 hours of it, right? I took the whole day. It was like
Damn.
a shift. You know what I mean?
I don't know how you did that to yourself.
Huh?
I don't know how you did that to yourself.
What do you mean? You don't
Oh,
think
nothing.
that's... I was trying... It was a Saturday. I was trying to finish it in time to do this. And then I was just like, I know I can't. Apparently I'm still pretty far away from it. But...
Well, were you, like, just arriving in Rotfront?
Huh? So just arriving in Rotfront. No, I think I played through all of Nowhere.
Mm.
A little bit before that. No.
Because
Yeah.
Nowhere feels really final until the, like, post-Nowhere stuff happens.
I played through all of Nowhere and a little bit of
You
into
really go
Rotfront.
through thinking, how does it get worse than the meat zone? And then you
It got
find out.
better and then weird and then sad.
Mm. I think Nowhere is a lot more annoying to get through. I think Rotfront might be a bit more difficult.
But I would play like half hour to an hour, right?
Mhm.
And I would have to keep taking breaks where I would just pause the game, and there is this like TikTok account that reviews Japanese stationery that I would just like open my phone and watch that for like 5 minutes and go, all right, I'm ready. And I'd pause it and I'd go back into it and I'd play more. And I would just repeat that process.
I played it for a few hours each time until the Steam Deck died,
Yeah.
or I got distracted by what was on TV.
You gotta go back in and play
Then
through
I went to
Nowhere
binge
for me,
it,
Jack.
but then it was dead.
You gotta at least play through Nowhere.
I probably will
Reach the first ending.
check it out one of these days.
You know, don't feel pressured. Because
That
what if
is-
we do another game?
Jack, it's Rogue's Nerdery's only 8.5 out of 10 ever. That's got to count for something.
Yeah.
It does. I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's good, even though I didn't get through the whole thing. Well, follow us on Instagram. It's Rogues Nerdery.
Oh, yeah.
Email us,
Yeah, you can
roguesnerdery@gmail.com.
More posts about Dragma's Dogma.
Yeah, I've
Drag
been posting some
Madonna.
reels just of like video game stuff.
Hell yeah.
I wonder if it wouldn't behoove us to just benefit where what it wouldn't just behoove us to try and do an episode where it is just us talking about what we played recently and just
No hard set parameters.
What?
You think that
It
would
could
go over
be.
well?
I mean, that's what a lot of people do.
That's true,
It
but
works.
Wow.
no.
I feel like if I were able to do that, I would really be phoning it in.
Really,
Yeah.
there's so many that I want to talk. Like I want to talk about Hi-Fi Rush. You know what I
That
mean?
game, I want to talk about that too.
Do you?
Ah, shit. Do I have to play Hi-Fi Rush now?
I really want to finish Hi-Fi Rush, and I don't think it's that long.
I just want to say that, like, watching the trailer, it seemed like it'd be a really good, like, Netflix TV show that you could, like, watch with your kid.
Oh, I can see
It
that.
reminds me of, like, what's it called? Like, Troll Hunters. Have you seen that?
I've seen it. I haven't watched it.
It just reminds me of, like, that kind of vibe or something. I don't know. It seemed like it'd be a really nice show. I don't know. It seems like something that would be fun to play, too.
It's good. I like the cell shaded effects. It's bright. It's poppy.
Yeah.
I don't know. You should definitely do that. Maybe not for next episode, but just cue that up as the next game.
Yeah.
We could.
Do you have it?
No. It's not on sale.
I
I figured I'd get it when it was, like, on sale or something. It just came to PS5, like,
Really?
yesterday. Yeah, or a couple
Okay.
days ago.
How much is it?
It's not that
I
expensive.
will contribute to
I
it.
think.
I have the remnants of a 20 in my wallet that you can have.
No, that's okay. I'm just spending
Wait,
a
is
lot
it
of
full
time
price?
playing Dragon's Dogma. I think it's only like $30.
Again, no pressure. You don't have to get anytime soon. But as a like upcoming game episode, I would love to do that. I do think it's a really interesting game. I think it's got interesting stuff behind it, and I think it's really fun.
Yeah, I already said the follows. Oh yeah, maybe sign up for our Patreon,
$5.
Rogues Nerdery.
$5.
We haven't had any
You
takers
can be
yet.
a Chaz.
Have we? Is
Not
that what
yet.
they're called?
Yeah,
Be a Chaz.
you can be a Chaz. We'll shout you out, and also you can suggest ideas for us, or whatever. I don't know. Be the first one.
Yeah.
We'll do whatever you want.
I'll wear the hat.
He'll wear the hat.
I will still do that audiobook.
Oh yeah, terrible.
Sacred and Terrible Air
Sacred and Terrible Air.
by Robert Kurvitz. I actually haven't even started reading it yet, so it would
Wow,
incentivize
you're really
me to.
disappointing our Chazes.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe it's a different game. You said our Instagram.
Yeah,
You can email us at
I said that already.
you can find us on
Spotify
Oh.
or anywhere. Amazon, Apple
we're on
Podcasts.
Amazon now.
We're on everything.
Dang.
We've been on Amazon.
Oh shit,
I think we have like 30% of our listeners on Amazon.
30%.
Yeah, which is strange, but I
All
mean
right.
we're got a lot of different countries, so I don't know.
That's pretty cool.
Maybe that's more popular in some places.
Yeah, just say hi. I think Jack actually. I don't know if this puts it on all podcast platforms, but I know it's on Spotify when I look at it. But you can like post a question to like ask. Go ahead, answer that, interact. If there's something you want to see us do, send us an email. Follow us on Instagram. We'll take feedback.
You can find us, but you won't. No, I
You
find
can
you
find
first.
us.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, goodbye.
I'm Noah.
Bye. I'm June.
I'm Jack.
Bye.
And this is...
This has been Rogue
Bye.
Theory. All right. You think we got everything in
I
there?
think
Yeah.
so.
All right.
No, don't hit the delete button.